Hello there, everybody, and welcome back to Circling Seattle Sports on Converge Media. Charles Hammaker here, joined by Bel Garcia, as always. And it seems like I always say, "Oh, maybe it's a quiet week. Maybe things don't get quiet around here."
Not at
I
all.
mean, I think we incorporated Sports Star of the Week for Seattle at a good time because last week we had some pretty solid performances. Obviously I was biased with Van der Yacht, but Ty France has really had a really good homestand. Fell into his choice now with 3 saves of the week out of four weeks of this Challenge Cup, 3 saves of the week.
That's
3 out of
awesome.
4 is pretty impressive, to take the league-wide award, something like that. So I think we incorporated it at a good time. So it's not like we can really have a sort of off week or a slow week. I just don't think that's going to happen. So with that being said, that is the last week of April now. We're approaching May. Some big things are happening. The NFL draft is coming up. Mariners season continues. The WNBA season is starting up. NWSL regular season starting up. NHL season's coming to an end for the regular season, and our guys won't see the postseason. MLR, Major League Rugby, their postseason sort of coming around, and the Seawolves playoff race continues to be tight. The Sounders continue in CCL, so things won't get slow. That's my point. So with that being said, we're going to jump into a relatively slower Seahawks segment. What do we got going on over with our guys at the Seahawks?
I'm actually gonna pass it off right back to you because we do have a mock first round pick again this week. So for Charles's pick, we have offensive tackle Evan Neal, and then a potential surprise pick of Desmond Ridder. So can you just give us your thought process on those?
Yeah, so I mean, you see right now, we'll just leave this up for a second, looking at Evan Neal. I'm digging in with this pick. I know I said we'd look at maybe a second one, but the 3 main positions of need for the Seahawks at the NFL draft and the media are really focusing on a quarterback, obviously, cornerback and offensive tackle. I really don't think, out of Pete Carroll and John Schneider's their stubbornness and how stubborn they tend to be, with guys they bring in free agency or with even the guys that they've currently got on the roster, I don't think they're going to go with a cornerback at number 9.
Yeah.
Let alone, I mean, this. They might not even draft at number 9. They went straight out of that pick.
Right.
So, this is hypothetical. This is if they keep that pick, which, there was a report that came out, just today about the NFL about a bunch of teams want to trade out of the first round. Out of the first round picks, it's tough.
That's crazy.
Because I know there isn't it's not like when there was like the Andrew Lucks and the RG3s and Cam Newton, who are some other, like Joe Burrow. There's no number 1 pick stamp on really anybody right now, let alone any of these quarterbacks. And quarterback is obviously a make or break position in this league for a lot of teams, right? I think that if you gave the Colts a star quarterback, not just an average guy, I think they're maybe an AFC favorite. Personally, if they somehow landed Russell Wilson without giving up too much, I think they're going to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Personally, that's a different subject though. So, first round pick, I don't think that I personally don't see any of these quarterbacks as number 9 overall pick potential. Maybe late first rounder if you're able to sneak back in. But I don't know if you would. With the reports about trading up, maybe trading out, maybe some teams would bite for that. But also with the 2 things with the Seahawks and drafting, you have to kind of assume they're going to trade out of that high pick that they've got, if that initial first round pick, right, to get more.
Yeah.
It's and then 2, you have to be ready for surprises. Like the Super Bowl, I think it was 2012 year, with Russell Wilson being in that draft later. Who was the first round pick? Do you remember that?
I don't.
It was Bruce Irvin. Nobody thought Bruce Irvin would be in the first round because of his off the field stuff. Goes first round. Bruce had a solid career. I think he signed with the Bears last year. I don't think he's playing this year. I don't believe so. LJ Collier. Did anybody expect him to go in the first? No. Rashad Penny. No. So you have to be ready for surprises. I think it's the idea of not knowing whether they're going to stay in that pick, which they probably won't, and then also the surprise factor. So I think maybe, with the fact that they did have a visit with Ridder, that he could be in the cards there. And the Pete Carroll whole mantra of competing. You got Drew Lock and Geno Smith in there, and maybe, again, I'm a Husky, so Jacob Eason might be in the mix, but I don't really think. I think he's too much of a raw talent right now. Maybe you do throw a guy in, because do they maybe see Drew Lock? And that's the thing why I also kind of rule out the quarterback aspect of it as well, because there have been so many reports, and they've even said that they see Drew Lock as a guy who hasn't really been given a fair slate in the NFL. So I take the court. That's how I take the quarterback side of it out. Now we're left with the cornerback on offensive tackle. Cornerback, you signed Artie Burns. You re-signed, help me out here, Sidney Jones, right? You got Trey Brown there still waiting. Who else did we sign? Trey Brown.
It's totally
Artie Burns, Sidney Jones. I know that I just don't think that you have the cornerback room that you have, and then especially even letting up on DJ Reed. You could have paid DJ Reed money.
Yeah,
you could have
kept him.
So I think that with what they've added in that room, I cast that aside, and I think offensive tackle right now, you don't have Dwayne Brown, you don't have Brandon Shell,
right?
So you've got like Stone Forsythe on the roster and Jake Curran, who are both. Curran played solidly last year towards the end of the season. Forsythe, we have no idea how well he's progressed, really. So it's just, if you've got two unknowns, why don't you get a franchise guy like that you can have around and grow, but also be an immediate factor? And if we look back at the Neal side, what does the grading say? Year one starter potential, and he can grow. That's how I look at it in this whole draft situation.
Yeah.
And I mean, it seems like you've kind of gone that same direction as well, sticking with Mr. Cross here.
Yeah. So for all the reasons that you just specified, that's exactly why I'm sticking with Charles Cross. And honestly, again, for all the reasons that you specified, and maybe not even keeping this number 9 pick, it's so hard to even try to mock something up. So of course, we're looking at what is most needed. And yeah, I think doubling down on that is the way to go for now. We'll see if any surprises come ahead.
And then, that's why I remember when the Jamal Adams trade happened, I was like, I don't care if we're a first round pick. Like in the right off the bat, as soon as I read the Bleacher Report thing on my phone, I didn't care about it too much, because first round pick Seattle tends to trade out of them anyway, and they haven't been that great at getting. Oh, and then not Quentin Jefferson, Malik McDowell. I think he might have been early second round, but he didn't work out. So high picks weren't really a forte for Seattle. So that's why I didn't really quantify that as being much, So I would say expect the unexpected when it comes to this draft, as we have seen in several years since John Schneider and Pete Carroll have been at the helm for Seattle, and expect a surprise, because it's not like Seattle, or even Jordan Brooks, right? People thought that Patrick Queen was like the presumptive pick at the inside linebacker position, in the draft. And so Seattle picked Jordan Brooks, and then right after that, with the Ravens pick, they took Patrick Queen. And I'd say Jordan Brooks is having a better career than Patrick Queen. I'm not saying that Patrick Queen is bad, but I'm saying that Brooks has turned out. So it's the Seahawks draft conundrum is a really interesting one. And so when that date comes up, and that's 3 days, that starts on Thursday. Expect the unexpected, because really, I don't know what to tell you. If I have to throw something at the wall and hope that it sticks, I'm not even sure if it is Neal. Maybe it is Cross. I'm just saying offensive tackle. That's the only thing that I would feel like 60% confident about out of 100 is that it's going to be an offensive tackle. Okay. And even then, I don't know if they trade out of it. So that's where we stuck with our picks. I know that we were talking about potentially looking at new ones. I just don't see them going for a Derek Stingley. I don't think Sauce Gardner drops to number 9, let alone Malik Willis dropping to number 9 now with recent mocks. But also, there is the funny way that the draft works, where some guys do slide, So there were rumors that Mac Jones might have gone top 5, and then he fell to the Patriots, So stuff like that. The draft is a funny place, and anybody that tells you usually outside of the top 15 or so where someone's going to go, it's kind of hard to predict that kind of stuff. So that's how I view the draft.
Well, for sure, we'll have an update by next week, since the draft is at the latter end of the week this week. So definitely will provide an update on Monday as to how the Seahawks did in the draft. Moving forward, there's not much about the Seahawks. Of course, still tracking DK Metcalf and hopefully his contract extension. As of now, DK says that he is tuned in regards to his contract situation. Head coach Pete Carroll says that he's really tuned in. He's shown a really good mentality about the return in regards to DK's attitude at voluntary workouts with contract talks in the looming, of course. I don't know what to expect here. I want to say that they'll reach an extension, but you never know.
I mean, with what happened on March 8th, with Russell being traded and Bobby Wagner being cut, I mean, even before then there was some trust issues, but even more so now.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a few days before that happened. In these like league meetings, they had their like, oh, the quarterback's not available,
Right.
and then, so I don't know. I would say if I'm in that chair where I want to win now and I'm John Schneider,
You're gonna keep DK.
I mean, there's so many avenues that you look at where that makes the most sense. I've got a young quarterback. If we're looking at, okay, say we're going with Drew Lock, or even if we draft a guy, I've got a young quarterback that needs a good weapon, DK Metcalf.
Mm-hmm.
I have a young star who wants to be a leader. He's talked about being a leader. I have to keep DK. I've got a young guy who's got tons of potential, tons and tons of potential, and isn't a one-trick pony. Why? And it doesn't sound like he wants out.
Thank God, because that's currently not the situation.
Exactly.
With others.
What negative point do I have? I don't care about the salary cap. You're going to have to spend money. It's not like the Super Bowl where if you looked at the 2013 team, Bobby Wagner, Russell Wilson, Richard Sherman, Cam Chancellor, Earl Thomas, the Legion of Boom, that defense, most of those guys were on rookie contracts or whatever, or just, weren't getting paid around the league minimum. You're not going to get that.
Yeah.
You can't replicate that, So I don't care about the salary cap. Throw him money. Throw it at him. Boom.
Give him what he needs.
Yeah. So
excuse me.
I don't know what to expect, but at least in terms of how it breaks down logically, I don't see a con in terms of pros and cons.
And like you just said, that segment, or it gives us into our next segment really well. You mentioned that he doesn't want out and that he's not on a rookie contract. And that's not the case for Deebo Samuel. And that's been Deebo Samuel drama has been in the talks it's just been popular for the last week. On April 19th, Samuel halts deal with the 49ers. San Francisco is ready to sign the wide receiver, but Deebo put a halt on everything for right now. On the 20th, Samuel asked teams to trade him, won't cite specific reasons. The 49ers want a huge haul for Samuel. The belief is that he won't be traded unless they get a king's ransom. And Samuel doesn't want to play a wide receiver running back role anymore. He doesn't want to be a hybrid position.
I want to hear what you think about that, because that's interesting to me, because at least in that, like with Jimmy Graham, let's use Jimmy Graham as an example, right? Jimmy Graham, I remember in his last few years with the Saints, before he was traded to Seattle, was pioneering to get a deal that was similar to a wide receiver deal, because he viewed himself more as a wide receiver as opposed to a tight end. So, if you think about it as being a guy who's like a hybrid, you'd think that would work yourself into some new money. And maybe you get yourself, you could argue, I get more touches, I get more yards, I'm more valuable to the offense than standard wide receiver does.
Sure.
You look at guys like, say, who got a deal? Okay, this isn't anything about Devontae Adams. Okay, but does he doesn't get those like jet sweeps or whatever, or those designed run kind of things. Like Tyreek Hill maybe gets some of those, right? You see what I'm going with this, right?
Yes.
There are types of wide receivers. So I'm saying you could leverage yourself into some money, but that part interests me. I'm wondering how much that thing about the hybrid is a falsity. I wonder how much of this is a new deal. Because sometimes we've seen that where guys say, "Oh, I want out of here. I blah blah," and it's just
they sign again.
They just want you to throw more money at you so that the green makes sense, so I'm going to stay. But I'm really interested about that, because that doesn't make entirely all that much sense to me.
I mean, if I'm looking at the rest of the NFL wide receivers and the contracts that they received, maybe that would entice me to go the wide receiver route. But otherwise, I don't know what about the running back role that he wouldn't prefer. I mean, do you get hit less as a wide receiver?
Oh,
Do you
yeah.
want to just like preserve your body for longer and you know that this is the role that you're good at and that you can continue to do for a long time?
Yeah, that part I think makes sense because obviously, yeah, if you are a running back, you're going to be a guy that gets beat up more.
Yeah.
But also saying, hey, can we work on some stuff that's more outside? You know, obviously, I'm assuming they don't run him up the gut, right? He's not obviously not a between the tackles guy.
Yeah.
But that quote, that report about the hybrid situation really sort of intrigued me, and I'm interested to see how much of that was actually real.
Yeah.
And how much of that may be just someone is putting out information about Deebo Samuel because his name is on the presses right now.
Who knows? I did, however, see a video a couple of days ago where he's at a club and they have one of those signs that they bring out every now and then, and it said Deebo is staying in San Francisco, and he was just like giving like the cut it motion.
Oh, that's what that video was.
Yeah. So who knows? Obviously something's got to change. I don't know if he's just demanding more money or if he really wants to leave and just San Francisco isn't his place anymore. But we'll continue to keep you guys posted on that situation. Moving on here, on the 21st, the NFL said that they would drop a schedule on May 12th. Select additional games will be announced in the days and weeks leading up to a full release. Cardinals not trading Kyler Murray. General manager Steve denies any report that the team will trade their quarterback. How much belief do you have in that, seeing that our situations were kind of similar and Russ got traded anyway?
It's interesting because I feel like if you continue to have the issues that Arizona has had, you know, how many times in the last few years, right? I mean, as a Packers fan, I'm sure you see, you know, top of the NFC, you know, Green Bay tends to be there. But sometimes in the earlier part of these seasons, Arizona starts out, oh, hey, Arizona's 5-1. What's going on?
Yeah.
And then, you know, they get to like 7 and well, now it's a 17-game season. So let's say 7-2, right? They're 7-2. They're top of the NFC. What do we do? Oh no, they look really good. The NFC West could go through them. You know, the Rams have and then there's a collapse. You know, last year it was what? It was like, was Murray injured or whatever?
It was about a month. Yeah, it was after the Green Bay game. Kyler Murray was injured, I think, and it was lingering. They said that he might return. They didn't give a timeline. They didn't say what exactly he injured, and I think it turned into a month and maybe even more that he was out. So, of course, that only enabled the skid there and the record to change, but who knows? Again, we'll keep tracking all this and make sure to notify you guys once we have more information. Also on the 21st, Deshaun Jackson may not retire. He says he's not really sure about playing next season, but is open to joining a few teams. He's open to joining the Chiefs, Packers, Browns, or Broncos. So
interesting list there.
Yeah, for sure. I know Broncos are on there. I didn't realize that he was on the list. They were on the list.
Well, I mean, I think it's definitely a situation where he doesn't want to have to deal with a quarterback that won't get him the ball.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where he, you know, probably wants to go out on top. You know, wants to play with the guy Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson. What were the other one? Patrick
Chiefs,
Mahomes,
Packers, Browns, or Broncos.
Deshaun Watson, you know. So, I mean, I guess it makes sense, but I'm interested to see. It's got to be a mutual thing, right? How many guys want to take on a wide receiver that's getting old, probably playing one of the last years of his career?
Right.
How many guys want to take that on, especially with their salary cap? You know, how much money does Deshaun want?
Sure. We'll continue to monitor that and see where he heads, and if not retirement.
I would doubt it. I mean, I have to figure one of the teams is like, hey, man, we'll do a near event minimum for you. You know, not obviously too much, but I'm sure that someone will find a spot for Deshaun Jackson.
For sure. All right. On April 22nd, Earl Thomas states that he wants to return. The 7-time Pro Bowl safety Super Bowl champ hopes to resume his career at age 33. How realistic do you think that is?
I mean, I don't know. It's different than some of the situations with guys wanting to come back into the league, but I'm wondering if it's, with what happened with his brother and with some of the stuff he's had with coaches and former teammates where they didn't even want him in Baltimore anymore. How much of the people around the league said, "Hey, we saw what happened. We're gonna pass." So I would say the likelihood of him signing to a team, I'd say, is 30 to 70 in favor of no.
Got some personal baggage there to figure out.
Yeah.
Also on the 22nd, it was reported that the NFL will play 3 Christmas games. The league will expand Christmas slate to 3 games this year for the first time. Jam-packed Christmas Day. And it normally is for the NBA too. So where do you think that viewership goes?
Yeah, well, you know why they're doing that? They want to fight with the NBA for that viewership. So, I mean, I think, it comes down in terms, if you're just, you want who's going to get the viewership. I think it depends on what matchups you put.
Definitely.
But it's also, you talked about the schedule being announced here earlier in league news.
Yes.
There are a lot of times where, the league schedules a game in a primetime slot and they hope it's going to be a really good game. And then maybe 3 weeks into the season, they're crap. They're like, oh, this isn't a really good matchup. A really good AFC team is playing an NFC team that is like winless, So it's tough. I think it's going to be, if you get some situations around that time, Christmas time, you're getting gearing up for playoffs. You got to have some teams. I mean, people will still tune in. The NFL fan base is huge in this country. It's the most viewed sport by far in the States.
What do you think one of those matchups will need to be in order for it to really entice people?
One of the AFC North matchups. That division is going to be really tough. I think, or even AFC West. You look at the Chiefs, the Raiders, the Broncos, the Chargers. I would say it's got to be a divisional game, and it's got to be one of those. Because I don't know, who do you look at in the NFC? I don't really look at the NFC West right now because we're not really in it. The Cardinals probably won't be in it too much. The Rams, maybe the 49ers. So they lose Deebo Samuel, take it off the cards.
Yeah.
So, what if you put a Rams-Packers in there? That would have playoff implications. Silence. I think it has to be AFC North, AFC West. I remember a few years ago, it was AFC North. It was Steelers-Ravens, and Big Ben threw it to AB at the goal line, and he reached over to win the game. And I think it gave them the division on Christmas Day. So I think it's going to have to be AFC North, AFC West.
I'm taking it a little bit more personal and not going with a division, but just going with like a Packers-Raiders matchup. I would like to see that.
I mean, the Raiders could be a playoff team this year. I mean, everybody kind of, I'm not going to use that word. Everybody kind of pooped on Derek Carr, as soon as they saw that Devontae Adams was going there. He's not a bad quarterback. I don't think he's a bad quarterback.
I'll hold my thoughts.
I'm not saying he's great. I just don't think he's bad. Okay. I think he's average to good at times.
At times.
Yes.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, we can agree there. Also reported on the 22nd, Steve Young says that we need to be better in regards to learning about a former teammate having CTE, and that former teammate is Greg Clark. The 49ers legendary QB wants an improved environment for NFL players to discuss mental health. In full support, obviously. I completely agree. And this brings me back to DK Metcalf, actually, and saying that therapy should not be looked at in a negative way. So if a player needs help, then it'd be nice for them to have an environment that they can seek that help.
Yeah, and I think it's important, especially a guy of like Steve Young, who is, a legendary quarterback and a guy who obviously has a large platform, to say stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I think it's really important that said, because there could be guys, like him in his situation, it's got a large following that, believes this, but if they don't say it, it doesn't matter. They don't know your stance on it, and you couldn't, if you're not saying anything about it, people don't know your stance on it. So it's important to say these things,
sure.
So I think that's all around, like you're saying, it's all around a good thing.
You added a couple notes here to the 25th, which is today, and I'm not too sure what that means. So I'll have you elaborate on that.
On the 25th, the Panthers reportedly do not want Baker Mayfield, which is certainly a headline.
Okay, so I'm going to actually cut you off there because look at what I see on my screen.
Oh, Bell's notes have not updated, so
Mine just says Panthers repo, so I wasn't sure who they were being repoed by.
yeah, the Panthers organization's been repoed. Carolina is not expected to trade for the Browns quarterback prior to the first night of the NFL draft, let alone at all. So that's, I guess, Robbie Anderson gets his wish. And then the other thing is that Amazon reportedly wants to add a Black Friday game. So in addition to the Thanksgiving games that always take place and the now 3 Christmas games that will be taken, is that something that was confirmed or they're talking about it? The Christmas games.
I'm not sure. We can.
I don't remember what we said about that. But Amazon wants to add a game on the day after Thanksgiving for its streaming platform. So that is.
It is confirmed. The 3 Christmas.
Okay,
games.
so yeah, 3 Christmas games, 3 Thanksgiving games, and now a Black Friday. I just think it's too much. It's a Friday game. It's weird. It throws people off. I don't know. I'd say scrap it.
Really? I enjoy being able to watch sports just back to back. So
I mean, in the winter, there's already prime. You'll have college football that'll be bowl season, right? Around Thanksgiving.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's rivalry week actually, because I remember the Apple Cup is always around that time.
Mm-hmm.
So
it definitely is.
So you already have rivalries.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Too many.
What do we got looking ahead?
The draft. That is all we have to look ahead for the week here. So of course, like I said, we'll definitely update you guys on how the Seahawks do and if they keep that number 9 pick or they trade that away.
Off the top of your head, are they keeping it at number 9 or not? No? I agree with you. No. But if they keep it, they make a pick.
We'll be
okay
surprised.